happening with America's food supply? Every day there are more headlines reporting tainted meat and produce or genetically modified food laced with hormones and antibiotics. Hi, I'm Danielle Williams for GreenStocksRock.com, and today we're going to recap some of the recent highlights from Bloomberg Market News and other major news sources for our viewers concerning your food supply. Dateline May 25, 2013. There were worldwide protests against Monsanto and GMO foods earlier this year. Some of the headlines were Asian seafoods raised on pig feces approved for U.S. consumers. Another headline read, Food sickens millions as company paid checks find it safe. Over the last year, the U.S. had 37 recalls of fruits and vegetables, up from 2 in 2005. Many of the victims of contaminated food are those with underdeveloped or weakened immune systems, such as children and the elderly. According to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, which estimates that each year more than 48 million Americans, 1 out of every 6 people, become ill as a result of ingesting foodborne pathogens, bacteria, viruses, and microbes, such as Salmonella, Listeria, and E. coli. Of these, hundreds of thousands are hospitalized and more than 3,000 people die each year. A number of recent outbreaks to make headlines have been linked to contaminated fruits and vegetables or contaminated meat. Salmonella and E. coli have become household words since outbreaks at high-profile places like Jack in the Box and Costco made national headlines. Almost half of the vegetables and 26% of the fruit imported into the U.S. last year came from Mexico, according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Economic Research Service. Flaws in the U.S. inspection system are magnified when food originates in other countries. In Mexico, some fields contaminated by animal and human feces and dirty water aren't being monitored by government inspectors or third-party auditors. After the break, we're going to meet a CEO who has the answer for this question. Is my produce safe to eat?
The digital age is here. Promote your company with a cutting-edge video production.
Proven to help promote breast health. Just one tablet.
With our superior audio,
live entertainment, playing Friday night Candlebox,
3D graphics, and professional talent.
Enjoy the worry-free shopping.
We will make sure your message gets delivered professionally. Call Premier Media Services at 866-465-6551 and get your project started today.
Welcome back to the show. Today we're happy to have via satellite with us Rod Smith, who's the president and CEO of GreenPolkadotBox.com, the nation's premier online grocer and supplier of organic and non-GMO food products, to tell us about the recent press release introducing living produce delivered right to your door. Good morning, Rod, and welcome to the show. It's great to have you here, and it's great for you to speak to our audience today.
Good morning. I'm glad to be here.
Rod, can you tell our audience a little bit more about GreenPolkadotBox.com?
The Green Polka Dot Box is essentially a consolidator or aggregator of organic and non-GMO natural foods for distribution to our members and to commercial customers around the United States.
Now, Rod, one of this week's top news stories was about a protest against Monsanto and GMO foods. Can you explain why you carry only non-GMO products?
Well, simply put, to be safe. There are millions and millions of consumers now who are becoming very concerned about genetically modified organisms. And to protect our members' interest and the interest of potential customers, we've taken a stand not to carry any genetically modified organisms.
Now, I found this to be fascinating. I read a recent press release that you entered into a purchase and construction agreement with Future Growing LLC, the world's leader in vertical farming technologies. Can you explain what vertical farming is?
Vertical growing, or vertical farming as you put it, is a brand new technology. Though many years in development, we're the first major large-scale farmer in the United States to use this technology. The advantages are numerous. First of all, from an environmental perspective, you have 95% better water usage. In other words, you use only about 5% of the water required to grow crops conventionally. Another big advantage is you're getting about 88% greater land usage, and the growing cycles of this technology are much faster. For example, if you're growing in conventional crops, you might get 1 or 2 crops a year because of seasonality issues or other constraints. But with vertical growing technology in a closed growing environment, you have the ability to grow crops month after month after month. So it's a great sustainable solution of supply for all of our potential buyers around the United States and for delivery to our members as well. There are other advantages. The produce, in my opinion, is superior in appearance and in aroma and in flavor. And best of all, it's living. We call it living produce because the root system remains intact at the time of harvest. The root system is carefully bound to the plant and placed in a water pouch, so when it's delivered, it's still alive. And it can stay alive 7 to 10 days. This is remarkable. It's a major breakthrough in the world of produce.
And how will that benefit the American consumer?
Well, consumers benefit because it's for the first time they know exactly what they're getting in the way of produce and exactly when it was harvested, and it's alive when they receive it. Now, let me talk about that for a moment. Typically, because of the elongated distribution process that has developed over the many decades in the world of agriculture and produce, oftentimes produce doesn't even arrive at the store until it's 7 to 10 days old. So half of the phytonutrient value of the plants are potentially lost before the time that the produce even reaches the store. So with this new technology, with living produce, as I like to describe it, consumers know the day that it was harvested. In fact, in every case, they're getting the produce delivered to their door next day, whether they're a residential or commercial customer. The plants themselves are going to live 7 to 10 days longer, keeping a full nutrient profile intact until consumption. And I think best of all is the price, because using this technology we can grow so much more efficiently and effectively. That translates to a much lower cost for the consumer. We'll see dramatic reductions when compared to produce that's grown traditionally and delivered through our standard distribution systems.
I believe it's stated in the news that Gpdb plans to install its first of many living produce grower centers in Spring City, Utah. Why Utah first?
We really like Spring City, Utah because it's a pristine environment and there's an abundance of quality agricultural land there for development. We can also reach most of the western United States with next day distribution from that location.
Now, I'm sure our audience wants to know how many vegetables or fruits will you be able to deliver monthly from a location?
Well, our current location, which is comprised of 40 acres, will yield up to 100,000 vertical growing towers and potentially 3 million plants a month to our members living in the western United States.
Now, Rod, I'm always curious in this, and I'm sure our audience wants to know how many new jobs will this create per location?
We can expect to see an additional 200 to 300 employees in Spring City that are taking care of that facility.
Now, Rod, the world is watching our food sources. Will these living produce farms be duplicated nationally and internationally?
Well, we have a plan to expand living produce growing centers across the United States first, potentially up to 12 major locations over the next 2 to 3 years. But there are many applications for living produce outside of the United States as well, both to fight hunger and also to establish better distribution in the industrialized nations of the world.
Our viewers are also interested in the company, and I see you're publicly traded under the symbol Gpdb. Can you tell our viewers what are the financial benefits of delivering living produce to your shareholders?
Well, from an investor's perspective, living produce represents tremendous upside, very rapid growth. The marketplace is huge. Just with a potential membership alone, the potential market for living produce is over $40 billion a year in annual sales, not to mention distribution to all the commercial customers, including restaurants and regional food distributors around the United States. So it represents a major change or shift in the way consumers are going to view and purchase produce. Not only are consumers going to save money for a highly desirable, better quality product, the margins for development of this product are significant. This is a very profitable business. So investors who see the opportunity and see how living produce can eventually be proliferated around the United States will have a great opportunity to see a significant increase in their return on investment.
Well, today we learned that the old saying is true. You are what you eat. I want to thank Rod Smith, Chairman and CEO of GreenPolkaDotBox.com, for stopping by and joining our show today. They're traded under the stock ticker and symbol GPDB. I'm Danielle Williams for GreenStockRocks.com.